What are the differences you have observed in gaming Americanized Asians compared to non-Americanized Asians, as in original Asians? How do you approach and escalate differently?
The American
So
shaves.
got
Let's have
so
Danny go first.
I have to go get off. So I'll give my personal opinion, and this is my experience. I'm not saying it's way everyone, but I do think Asian Americans are a little bit more have more attitude because I do think when they live in America, their sexual market value they think it's higher because white guys are in love with them. And I think there was a study. I don't know if it's still true, but the Asian race, the women date more outside of the race, 50% more. I don't know if that's still true, but apparently they marry or date more outside our race. Like our Asian race is the only race where like the girls date more outside, over 50%. Um, so my experience was like, yeah, like Mike said, K-Town, man, like there's a club there called Circle, I think is still there. And it's like brutal, right? Like these girls have such a big, like they're on a pedal. You know about talk about delusion and not delusion, but limiting belief. They have the other side where they think like they're the hottest girls ever, the Asian girls in America. It's crazy. It's kind of like I went to the Air Force Academy and we had 80% dudes and 20% girls. So a solid like girl, let's just rate the girl to SMB. If she's a 6 or a 7, she thinks she's an 8 or a 9 and guys would put them because we are in scarcity, right? But when you come to Asia, man, there's so many. Yes, there's a lot of surgery, but there's so many beautiful girls like everywhere, right? There's so much more abundance. So I do think that Asian girls here are more feminine. I think the Asian girls are more feminine for sure. And I think a lot of guys, actually, a lot of guys want to come to Asia. I know some a lot of Asian guys have the whole like I want to date white girls, but I do think even for me, after I got past that phase, I kind of like the Korean culture, man. I'm not gonna lie. I like the Korean food. The girl could talk to me, and like I like Caucasian girls too. But for me now, it's not about race, it's about the connection. And I think I always feel like home with the girl. And maybe it's the mommy thing too. My mom's Korean, so I do think just Asian girls are more feminine. And my personal experience, I've dated Asian American girls. They're a little bit more like attitude, I guess you could say. Like they have a that's my personal experience, personally. But hey, I just want to say a couple last words. Thank you for this opportunity. I seriously, and each coach here, I've heard about you guys and I saw your YouTube. Keep killing it, and I'm so glad that the first time we're not kind of like not we don't attack each other, but the Asian community has come together to help Asian guys out. So it's been a truly pleasure, and I appreciate you doing this, Ice, especially a white guy doing this for us. You know, sometimes we kind of tell our students like, yeah,
Reverse
go,
colonialization.
yeah. So it's kind of cool. So I really appreciate it, and thank you for this opportunity. And all you guys kill it, and I hope you guys all kill it on this call. Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. There, gotta give some reverse, well, not reverse racism. Gotta make up for any racism that my ancestors have caused. But anyway, whatever.
It's affirmative
let's
action,
continue.
right? Affirmative action.
Someone has to do it. But I'm just crazy. I just come up with ideas. But this is a super solid panel. I'm so glad we're here. You guys are very solid.
So I believe that Americanized Asian girls are more open-minded, less conservative. Whereas like the Asian girls back home in the homeland are more conservative, they have different values. But in China, it's like one of the biggest they take what is it? They take what is I think called abortions very not very seriously because it's like very normal. It's like, hey, I forgot to wear a condom. Now I'm pregnant. Let's get an abortion, in 2 weeks, right? But over here, it's more political. But I would say that even in Asia and in America, I would act the same way. Just people just treat me differently. So in America, if I talk to an Asian girl, they treat me like, okay, this is normal, right? In Asia, if I do the same thing, they're like, oh, why is this guy so like straightforward with me? He's so blunt. But then they still like it because they're not used to it. And if I bring the confidence and charisma, more likely than not, they're going to be happy with it.
I think obviously from a cold approach perspective, Americanized Asian girls are a little bit more used to it, right? A lot of times when I approach fobby Asian girls, you just get the deer in the headlight look, like, what is going on? Like, what? There's a guy that's talking to me and I don't know his entire social circle, and they just like freeze up, right? It happens very common. So I think in Asian culture, just walking up to a stranger is not common, essentially. And I think, China is very overly populated. I think most of the time people don't give a fuck. It's very different than approaching a Latina girl or a black girl. I think I get a lot of Asian clients that they think they have to only date and marry an Asian girl, but sometimes the conversations are just so shit and short. I'm like, all right, let's just try a Latina girl. Let's try a black girl. And they're like resistant at first, but then they end up having like the best conversation of the night with like a non-Asian girl. So they're like, mine is a little bit blown. But I would say, yeah, in general, um, I think it's a little bit easier to open Americanized Asian girls. But also, I think in terms of long-term dating and value systems, obviously this is a generalization, but I think a lot of girls uh back in Asia, it's more about like status, career. It's about like who you are as a man on paper. Whereas I think in America, it's more about like, do we align on values? Do we share similar interests? Are we growth minded? So I think, ideally, being born in China and growing up in the US, I kind of have like a hybrid mindset, right? Eventually, if I were to have kids, I want them to value education, but I also want them to be like play sports and be into public speaking, doing debate. So I think, yeah, obviously you're gonna find both. If you talk to enough girls, you're gonna find girls with whatever traits you want in both Asia or in the US. But I think Americanized Asian women are probably gonna be a little bit more open-minded.
I have experience if we say like my personal. So as an Indian, it is the Asian girls are definitely like tough for me, like honestly. But since I'm into more into like white, so I don't really find okay, I'm like missing something in that way. So definitely, I will say, but I have experience in teaching Asian guys in New York, and definitely there, if you have game, because the question is how you approach and escalate different. So if because the culture is definitely very open there, and I was even shocked like how easy it is to get laid in places like New York in the daytime scenario. Once you escalate and logistics in handle. This guy, it was interesting that he met like he met some Asian girls, white girls, but Asian girls, it was the same thing. It was easy. But then he also met one girl. She was outside. She was migrated from another part of from Asian country. I will not say which because that infiltrated I will release also. So that girl was she didn't he didn't got late with this girl immediately, but they have a very good girlfriend boyfriend kind of connection with that girl, this guy and this girl, and he said to me that he's enjoying with this girl much more time. So definitely, if the girl is from outside, like from then she is not yet her mind is not yet polluted, and she is still feminine and like maybe like traditional kind of slightly conservativeness, and going for that kind of this long term kind of thing is there.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Any other comments on this?
I mean, I
Yeah,
just generally encourage my students to be open to dating all women, Asian, Black, white, Latina. Like that just opens up your options and not necessarily to be narrowly specific to, oh, I must be Asian motherland or Asian American. Because, harkening back to what Danny was saying, like the exact statistic is something like 54% of American-born Asian women will outmarry, right? So whenever you are approaching an Asian American girl, it's sort of like, what is her in crowd? Because there will be, a lot of Asian American girls that want to date Asian guys. And then you'll run across those girls that specifically just like hate Asian guys, right? And they'll make it known, you can't always tell. While going back to what Mike was saying, sometimes when you approach Asian, fob girl who isn't used to being approached, it's sort of like pulling teeth. So I think the best bet is for any Asian guys out there that just want to learn dating is like, just be open to dating, approaching, all women, regardless
agree.
of their race.
Yeah. Well, if you're a beginner, like you're a homeless guy. Like, don't be picky on what kind of food people are. Like, you gotta be like, you can't be fucking picky, bro. You're a 31-year-old virgin. Fucking talk to everybody. There's nothing worse than a guy that has zero experience that just has all these standards. Like, bro, like we're not at a Victoria's Secret runway model. Like, there's a reality to like what's out there. So yeah, open to whoever.
Yeah, I agree with Mike also. Like when you are not, I'm agree with what you're saying, Mike, because if you are not getting laid, then you have to start your counter, and even if it is not the best quality girl, you're getting laid in the start. Just get the experience and level up the quality with the time. It will increase the quality when you improve your looks, your game, and everything. That the quality will also start to increase. Yeah.
Quick question. Is the audience for this video other Asian guys or white guys that want to date Asian girls? Or like, is there like a
I guess we'll find out
what
when when it's published. I don't know, but you
what
know,
up?
the game global community, it's global, but well, you know,
Oh,
with China, they don't really tend to
I
have
mean,
access to Facebook, Telegram necessarily, as far as I know, but they use different kind of platforms. So
it's your
there
audience,
is a
right?
bias. Yeah, yeah, effectively. But we have a lot of Americans, we have a lot of Asian Americans. We'll just see who drops in the comments and tells us. So let us know, I
I
suppose.
do have one thing to add about gaming Asian girls in the US. Um, I've okay, so at least in Vegas, I think a lot of Asian groups are rather large social circles. So you go to a club and there's like, I don't know, Asians like to roll like in giant
Oh,
10,
deep.
20 groups. And I would say Asian guys in those groups tend to be more overly protective than any other race. Like statistically, if I open a bunch of girls from LA and the girl is showing interest, there's a high likelihood some dude who's friend zoned in that group is gonna try to pull her, like fuck up my set and just like ruin the interaction. So I think it's really important to like if you're
That's why you
gonna
talk to the guy first.
if you're gaming Asian groups, in the US, you have to like manage the group. You got to make sure to build comfort. You don't want to overly sexualize. Sometimes I see this a lot in students where they meet a girl and she had a few drinks and they're like all up on the student and they get really excited. They're like, oh shit, I haven't touched a girl in 6 months. Let me unleash all this Kino on this one girl. And then her friends see it. And then they're like, oh, no, 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 no. You're going to go back to. So even if the girl's down, a lot of times you kind of have to de-escalate with Asian girls. You're like, oh, your friends are watching me. Let's tone it down. Let's wait till we go somewhere one-on-one uh before we get more physical. And what else? Also with Asian girls, I noticed a lot of Asian girls put a massive wall on the front end. I think talking to white girls, there's more checks and balances throughout the interaction. So if you're looking at the escalation curve, it's kind of like they're used to talking to strangers. So it's like there's multiple smaller walls. With Asian girls, it's like stranger danger. But somehow when you can like get over that initial hump, they don't know what to do. It's like a lot of times, I'm sure Deepak likes the whole getting laid. Like if you can get past the initial 20 minutes and you end up alone with a girl, a lot of times it's actually really easy to carry it to end game because she's so used to just rejecting dudes within the first 5 minutes that when you get past that, it's almost like there's no like they don't know how to handle it, and it usually just goes pretty straightforward. It's pretty smooth. I don't know. Would you guys kind of agree with that, or do you guys have any inputs?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of Asian-born girls, I find that they don't want to do any PDA. Like zero. I've dated a girl like that. Like no touching, no kissing in public. But once you're actually private, like they are ready to go wild,
Yeah.
right? So there is a cultural nuance of Asian-born girls versus Asian American for sure. And obviously in a group setting, when there's like guys and girls and Asians rolling deep, you definitely have to be aware of that mate guarding. Like I used to go to like these Asian clubs and like end of the night, there'd always be like Asian dudes fighting. Like they just get drunk, they're whatever, they're frustrated and they just get into a fight because like some guy's talking to some girl that's part of this group. So yeah, like there are absolutely nuances when it comes like Asian American, Asian born. You have to be aware of like the male dynamic in the Asian group. So like I said, it's better to open up your dating pool so that way you don't have to be like this very just, you know, having to like diffuse minds in a small in group when you could just expand your horizons.